Earlier last week, we reported that it was looking like Rachel Zegler was going to lose screen time in Snow White to a child actress. We received a ton of heat for that report, but we're here, folks, to tell you that, well, it's looking more and more likely, including a huge description change for the young star, the child actress, now being called a leading role. Hello, folks. It's a beautiful day out there, and it's more beautiful here because you're here with us. Same to Kocho Casino and Jonas J. Campbell. So happy you both have joined us for this exclusive as we continue to unravel what's going on with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the live-action remake out of Disney. Welcome, Kocho. Welcome, Jonas. How are you both?
So good to be here.
All right, well, gentlemen, let's dive straight in. And we have had significant pushback. Major pushback. I would even say there's some people pretty darn angry at us for our report earlier in the week, or last week, I suppose, covering that Rachel Zegler might be losing screen time in the upcoming Snow White film. I know. And so we have looked at some of the criticisms, and it's amazing. Our detractors actually assisted us in figuring out even more corroboration for the story. And so, folks, we're here to break down what's really been going on in a way, in a fidelity that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Because, again, this is exclusive, breaking just this morning on thatparkplace.com, and I am the author of this. More evidence that Rachel Zegler may lose screen time in Snow White, child actress in major reshoots. It's looking likely that the rumors of a child actress participating in reshoots for Snow White and potentially cutting down the screen time of Rachel Zegler in the final edit are true. All right, here's what we've got. I'm going to skip the part. Well, no, I'll just read the whole thing. Here we go. For more information has come out regarding my most recent article about Rachel Zegler potentially losing screen time in the upcoming Snow White live-action remake. In the prior article, partly crafted through reports from a source whose identity we are protecting, and I noted that a young actress had been hired and Disney would allegedly use her character to soften the Zegler portrayal of Snow White. Thanks to folks like Skyler Shuler of Diz Insider and other individuals on Twitter/X, we've been able to track down quite a bit of information that helps round out exactly what is going on. And then first, folks, we want to give a correction because here on the Pro Channel, we believe in being truthful all the time. And what this paragraph goes on to talk about is that when our source reached out to us, the source said that Disney had brought on a young actress into production for reshoots. And I believed that meant recently. But in rereading what the source said, that's not explicitly stated. And so that might actually be a mistake on my part in making that assumption in what I was reading. Now, it turns out that Disney, in fact, did put out a casting search for Snow White, for a young Snow White, and they were specifically looking for a very narrow type of person. And so this went out, I believe, in November of 2021. Rehearsals were beginning in January 2022, and filming was supposed to begin in March of 2022. Now, who were they looking for? They were looking for an actor to play a female 10-year-old Latina. And it says that must sing, dancing to plus, supporting role. Supporting role. Folks, hang on to that. That's going to really, really matter later on in this video as we explain what's going on. Supporting role.
Photographic memory.
Now, we also know that Emilia Foucher essentially received the role. She won the role. And we know now that she went to play this part, spent 4 months apparently in London, and we know that through Instagram posts. This one was dated June 27th, 2022, which is when we believe that she ended the initial time of playing Snow White. Now, that really matters because later on, Emilia Foucher, who is, we believe, playing young Snow White, well, she went back to London. And here's what it says from her Instagram post. And she's a kid, so we don't know if she's writing this or a family or, a publicity manager's writing this, but she's a kid. So we're keeping this smaller and not linking straight to the Instagram. But she says, and she's back in London. Funny, she left London on June 27th, 2022, and we flew back here on June 27th, 2023 for the same job. For the same job. It's the Snow White job. All right, so if we go down here, if these posts are indeed about Snow White, which we can't find any way to believe they're about something else, and by the way, there are some who have tried to say, well, it's an unnamed universal project. We can't figure out a way that's true. Emilia Foucher did indeed participate in major reshoots just before the SAG-AFTRA strikes, just as our source had originally claimed. On top of that, this is significant because there's some idea of why they would have rushed the young star into reshoots before the strikes. Because children age differently than adults, having Miss Foucher quickly reshoot her role was probably very important, given that she is currently 10 years old. She was 8 when she was cast in the role, despite the fact they were looking for a 10-year-old. And that probably has something to do with the fact she looks remarkably like Rachel Zegler. Now, I want to pause here and bring in you two gentlemen, because here's what I'm trying to ascertain. And this is where I'm going logically with this. And folks, it's going to make sense now, I think. If Amelia Foucher was brought on originally, hired in 2022 to play this role, and by the way, it's the role of a lifetime, and we are exceedingly happy for her and her family. What an achievement. What a huge, huge opportunity. They must be so, so pleased and proud, and we don't want to take not one bit away from them. But if she's brought in to do flashbacks or an origin story for Snow White, why would they need to reshoot for, we believe, 2 to 3 weeks with her? And that's what is borne out on the Instagram post. Why would they need to reshoot that unless they're shooting additional scenes for her? Guys, any thoughts on that? Can you come up with any other reason?
Well, obviously you don't delay a movie until 2025 when it's supposed to have come out this year, unless you're doing reshoots on this film. The rumor is that Rachel Zegler, who's a busy Hollywood starlet, that she is not available. So I don't know what your other options are if you're going to redo a movie about Snow White, unless you have someone else that can play Snow White.
Culture, one of the things that could be, the script may be so different that somehow they could not scrapbook together what she had been, what she had done. But that seems hard to believe. She's not, we would assume, with any of the dwarfs, so they're not having to redo CGI with her.
Right.
How could this not be that she's receiving additional scenes, a la what the source said previous?
I can think of that reason, plus also perhaps the script is at such odds with what they are trying to do and cobble together so that the audience doesn't just not go at all to see this film. They had to change dialogue as well. My suspicion is they're doing a combination of both, Pro. I mean, you have to make some kind of consistency for the character across the board. And if they're going to have to do reshoots and add other information on the back end for Rachel Zegler's part, and maybe these newly created CGI monstrosities that we've recently seen, I would say that they have to do new scenes with this young lady to make, I don't know, the story makes sense. Not to mention the fact that, yeah, they probably need to film a lot more with her just so they can try to make Snow White endearing. I think they're going to use the kid as a shield, Pro.
Well, I think that's well said. Now, let's get back to that point where the casting said that this was going to be a supporting role. And this, folks, this really, if you want to know why, we're leaning hard into this being corroborated. Here's why. And still there are parts of this video we acknowledge are rumor and speculation because this is editorialized and we're talking about a future product. So Snow White can be canceled tomorrow. Nobody gets any scenes. We can't tell you for sure what's going to happen in the edit room, but it's seeming more likely. And here's what we're getting at. If we go to the IMDb page for Miss Amelia Foucher, who I'm sure is an exceedingly talented young lady who is going to rise into stardom, and she may be the next, major celebrity we're all paying attention to in 10 years. And I wish her the absolute best. I'm so happy for her and her family. But Culture and Jonas, when we did the original video, I mean, we do our homework here. I took a look at the IMDb page. That's like bare minimum what we do in these kinds of situations. And there's something here that I think would have absolutely, knocked me to the floor, shocked me utterly, had I seen it, and would have been the headline. And it wasn't there to my recollection. Now, we have worked very hard to figure out a way of proving that this has changed since we released that video and that article. I haven't found a way to do that yet. So I'm just going to say that it's my very, very strong belief that this is new, but I can't prove that. Now, let me tell you what it is. And this is why, folks, This has a major impact on the Rachel Zegler story. Here is the mini bio, and I'm going to tell you where I believe it stopped when we read this last. Amelia Marie Foucher was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA. She has been acting and modeling since she was 3 years old. In 2019, she filmed her first 2 movies, A Ring for Christmas and the multiple award-winning feature film, Coda. When she isn't acting, she loves drawing, singing, and playing piano. Stop! That's where my recollection is that this ended up until apparently a few days ago. Again, my recollection, I could be wrong. I'm human. But I believe this next line is totally new. I believe it's happened since the article and since the video. And here's what it says, and this is big. In early 2022, Amelia signed on for her first leading role in a major studio project, due to be released by early 2025. Now, let me point, folks, to what okay. Early 2022, we already know that she auditioned in January and February. She had the role. We know that because it was reported. We can actually show you that. Branca de Neve, Brasil has this, and this is all the way back from May 30th of 2023, showing her there. Let's go back to the IMDb page, though. Amelia signed on for her first leading role, not supporting role, leading role, due to be released by early 2025, which of course it was originally 2024. And you might say, well, IMDb gets, lots of stuff wrong. IMDb is not totally trustworthy. They have plenty of gaffes and plenty of flubs and all that. And I would call for everyone to look at who is the author of this IMDb mini biography, Greg Foucher. Same last name as Amelia Marie Foucher. Leading role, and again, I think that has been updated. Culture, it's starting to look like this young woman has been given an even bigger opportunity with this movie than she had prior to whatever happened when they decided they needed to change direction.
Well, I agree with your suspicion. I think it's a little fishy, and it does seem like some of that information could have been, updated. And again, since nobody thought to capture the page prior to, your reporting, I would say that maybe we need to set that practice in motion in the future.
Well, usually we're better than that. We did not get the screenshot at that time.
I feel like that would have helped us a lot. But the fact
why we didn't get the screenshot though, Culture?
Yeah.
Because that page was so bare, and no, we're not meaning to be negative. It was so barren that we didn't really think there was much there to capture. And now there is.
I mean, she's 10 years old. She's new. There's not a lot of time to have a career there. So
she's new.
Right.
Yeah, we're not being critical of the young lady, but she's new to the business. So it's like I said, it isn't uncommon for people to end up with very slim pages. I mean, I have
not going to have a slim page very soon, I bet.
Here's how I would say it. There are 6, maybe 7 major studios, and most of them are struggling to get projects out this year. And early 2025, that is not that far away as far as making movies go. And whatever is there is not on her page. And there's obviously, they've removed it. The Diz Insider did remove the confirmation that she is playing young Snow White there.
Well, they removed the article, but the editor-in-chief, I suppose, I believe that to be true, the owner of Diz Insider seems to have confirmed it on Twitter to me. That link will be available in the article.
Yes, and well, and if you search for the article currently on Google, it still points to that website and that article and shows you the indexed part of it that was on Google and is now gone, which is...
It feels, Jonas, like Disney doesn't want us to know that she's the young
exactly.
Snow White for some reason.
Exactly.
Otherwise, why would it not just be on our IMDb page?
When you passed some of this information to me earlier, I was a little bit more skeptical, but the more I see this, I think you're probably right on the money here. There's no reason for anyone to hide that. What other productions could there be that they would want to hide that a little girl is becoming the quote unquote lead actress of a production like this? Or is whoever this person, Greg Foucher, are they overstating the role of their daughter, niece, whatever, I don't know, in this movie, or whatever it is that is they're referring to here? I think that I think she's about to get a lot more screen time because Rachel Zegler is in demand, and Snow White, unfortunately for her, does not seem to be something that she would be very focused on. I think those Pasek and Paul musical numbers are already written, and hopefully we'll get to hear this little girl use her pipes and sing out and do something amazing. And maybe we'll hear her sing "Someday My Prince Will Come."
It also strikes me, Jonas, that they highly prioritize getting her over to London as fast as possible to beat the strikes. And it looks to me, based on the Instagram post, that she went there and worked right up until the strikes. And so that's a lot of work. I mean, you talk about 2 to 3 weeks of production
with a 10-year-old.
Reshoots with a 10-year-old, and you're talking about supposedly just an origin and flashbacks. That is a lot of work for a very small amount of screen time. I mean, you would think she was getting like 5 to 10 minutes, and you put all this together, you've got like a month and a half's worth of shooting total with this kid. And we wish the best for her. I'm going to tell you guys something really fascinating. This will probably surprise the audience. And then, Jonas, I know you have an article that we need to take a look at, but I don't know that they can save the box office for this. I think they've poisoned the goodwill well with audiences. But I think that they might actually put out a quality movie because I think they're freaked out right now. And I think that they're doing things behind the scenes to try to fix this and salvage their reputation. I could be wrong, but folks don't usually expect me to say that. I think it might actually be an okay movie in the end with all the work they're doing. Now, that said, Rachel Zegler has been the chief poisoner of the well. Jonas, there's an article out there from Daily Mail that sort of goes through her sins, and you've got that ready to go. Would you read that to the audience,
Sure.
lest anyone think that we're just Rachel Zegler haters and
No, we're not
just
Rachel
on a
Zegler
crusade
haters.
to be mean to Zegler?
I would say that I can't speak for everything that everyone in the world said, but she was I think she spoke out of turn and got awkward and was not trained in how to be a grown-up and how to talk to grown-ups, which is what you have to do when you are a starlet. Anyways, Disney delays release of $330 million live-action Snow White reboot by a year and dumps diverse dwarfs. Wow, there's some alliteration there. After star Rachel Zegler sparked fury with woke rant against 1937 original. This out of the Daily Mail. Disney is delaying. We've already caught that. Reshoots as proof Disney bosses fear that they've made a $330 million turkey. I'd love to know where they got that $330 million figure because I'd like to get the documentation there. Zegler, who plays the title role, also mired the movie in controversy by alleging the 1937 source material was creepy and vowing to ensure the remake was more progressive. Over the summer, the film received negative attention after it was revealed by thedailymail.com that the 7 dwarves' iconic roles in the original film were replaced by 7 magical non-dwarf creatures in an
I think
effort
that's
to
a
keep
typo. I think they were dirty bandits.
That's the euphemism, right? Non-dwarf. I see lots of non-dwarfs if you go into the inner cities there. To keep the storytelling in line with the 21st century's commitment to political correctness, which, that's, again, when you have a young woman who's working as a scullery maid under her evil stepmother, and she's longing for one day to get out of that life and longing to find love. That's not very politically correct to dream of a man to come take her away from all this madness, from all of this feminine power that she is oppressed by. You and I had talked about this article earlier. What was it about it that I'm struggling to remember that conversation? Which points stuck out to you?
In terms of how Rachel Zegler offended so many?
Yes, I don't remember if the quote ended up in here. Oh, well, let's see here. Not only did the 22-year-old admit that she hated the original 1937 movie, she also described the film's prince as a stalker and branded the storyline weird. That's an incorrect quote. It was actually weird.
True. Yeah.
And that's not all. So, I mean, folks, we've got this article in the video description. You can go read the full list of sins for Rachel Zegler just associated with Snow White.
It's
but
so
her
I'm sorry, I just have to read this because the one and then the lead up. I just mean that it's no longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. Zegler told Variety a year ago. First of all, most of the primary songs, "Someday My Prince Will Come," obviously, it's kind of like the title track of that entire movie. That leaves you like "Hi Ho" and "I'm Wishing." And not much. And then, this is my absolute favorite part. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby, she joked before admitting in separate interviews that she was terrified when she went on the beloved Snow White ride at Disney World. She implied that her male co-star might actually get cut out of the film. So and maybe with the reshoots that might end up happening.
How the tables have turned.
Weird.
Culture, I want to go to you, though, because it's not just Snow White that she's done this with. She has attacked Jeremy Renner in vicious ways. And this was before he threw his life on the line and should have probably have died to save someone. So he's a total hero. She has acted viciously towards Gina Carano.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been... she has a forked tongue when it comes to her colleagues in Hollywood. So, Culture, is it any shock to you that we're seeing this situation where she may be losing screen time? I mean, or are we just haters?
No. And again, I mean, it was quite fortuitous that the story of the Songbirds and Snakes, which was the Hunger Games prequel, that I did a review for, it was fortunate she was not the primary, even though she did get a lot of screen time and she did sing, which she can certainly sing. But, you know, she didn't get the opportunity to drag that film down because she didn't get to speak before that film came out. So I bet you the producers and the directors were thankful for that. But she has a habit of tearing up people that she works with, and or that she could potentially work with. And I don't think that's a good way to go about things. She does very little to ingratiate herself to an audience. And she's kind of found a way to say foul things about a lot of people, as you pointed out, Renner and Carano. But I mean, even in the article you were just referencing, that wasn't the only foul thing she said about the future of the character or the description of the character she was playing. And look at what she did with the film like West Side Story, that particular remake. She said some interesting things there, if I recall correctly. So I don't
She's the
know.
anti-Iman Vellani Culture. We
Exactly.
love Iman Vellani. Iman Vellani has been in a stinker of a Marvel show. She's in a terrible movie, and yet we all like her because we're rooting for Iman Vellani to get the win at some point, and Rachel Zegler does the opposite. And it has nothing to do with us just arbitrarily looking for someone to hate.
No. I think, well, that's the other problem. Like, again, maybe she is young. I'm sorry, Iman Vellani is younger than, Miss Zegler, and she comports herself far better than obviously Zegler or anybody else. I think Iman Vellani is kind of what you need to be at Disney right now, so that maybe if you get work at another studio, people will come and see you. I don't know that Zegler is going to really inspire anybody to go and see her outside of her agent and her family. I could be wrong. But I like I said, I have a feeling that not only is her screen time reduced, I think she's going to have to play this character in a way that she doesn't want to. Because if this doesn't end up honoring the original 1937 animated classic that basically allowed for all of us to enjoy Disney to this day, well, about 9 years ago, maybe, but not quite to this day. But she better be okay with falling in love with that prince and singing that song.
Well, the thing I want to point out is Rachel Zegler's only been in 3 movies that are listed on her IMDb.
How have they done?
West Side Story made $75 million globally.
Right, it was a terrible flop.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods made $132 million globally.
Terrible flop.
And Hunger Games is not so terrible of a flop at $327 million globally.
And yet made half of what the other Hunger Games made, and that's without counting in inflation.
Right,
So-
and I'm not pinning all of those on her. She's not the she is one of the leads of West Side Story, but Shazam there's a lot of outside circumstances here. I would say she's not a box office draw.
Right.
On
I was
the
going to
level
say
that
she's
they
not.
need.
You put her name on the marquee, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody's like, "Oh, I got to go see that Rachel Zegler movie."
Right.
Like nothing has happened there.
You mean
guys,
she's not Jason Statham?
No, she's no
Guys,
beekeeper.
to round this thing back to the original point, we brought this rumor out that she's going to lose screen time. We said that there were reshoots with a young actress, significant reshoots, and she was likely to get more time in the final edit. The one mistake we made is, and that's on me, was saying that she had been brought on to production recently. Looks like she was brought in all the way back in 2022. That said, everything else lines up with the rumor. Folks, we cannot tell you for sure because we're talking about a future product, so we can't tell you for sure. But guys, when you look at this kind of a situation where potentially Rachel Zegler is having her screen time reduced in favor of a child actress who doesn't have the baggage that Rachel Zegler has, what is the future for someone like Rachel Zegler if she continues to say things that they just feel wrong to people? They're far more abrasive than they absolutely ever should be.
Well, she's kind of doing her career in reverse. Usually when you're winding down your Hollywood career, that's when you become an activist and you start spouting off things that nobody really wanted to know about you. And she's decided that she's going to do that in reverse and let us know exactly what she's thinking that she hasn't thought about very deeply or had life experience, to basically back up her point that she could make some good points along the way. I think she's just doing it wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, Culture, I think you're exactly right. She's the reversal of Kathy Griffin.
Oh.
That's not going to help. That's not going to lead to a long career.
No, I'm with you.
I was going to give her
amazing.
Jane Fonda, but yeah, Kathy Griffin.
Yeah.
Well, wait, you're gonna? I don't know, man. I guess she kind of sort of recovered after she decided to side with the enemy in a global conflict, but
Could be wrong.
All right. Well, we've just lit the comments ablaze, folks.
Sorry,
Get those comments coming in. Tell us your thoughts on the Rachel Zegler thing. Amelia Foucher. Remember Amelia Foucher, 10 years old. So we're just happy for her and her family.
We're rooting for her. We're rooting
That's
for her. We don't want her to be used as a shield. Please don't use her as a shield, Disney. That's not kind.
And don't forget, folks, your pal Pro is going on the record saying that I think they might actually salvage this film in the end. I think they are in such a corner. And I think, Jonas, actually, before we wrap up, just give us a quick rundown. Who are the people who are working on this movie?
Well, first of all, you have Mark Webb, who worked on the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which, there were good things in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And then I think we can all say that it probably wasn't Mark Webb that was the reason that Amazing Spider-Man 2 was such a mess.
Yeah.
And he's a talented guy. I forget off the top of my head what he did before Spider-Man, but maybe it was 500 Days of Summer, and that was a good movie. Pasek and Paul, they did Greatest Showman, which that was all original music there, but that did really well.
If they can't make a soundtrack for Snow White, I don't know who can.
And then, of course, you have the original music for Snow White, which is amazing and wonderful. And you do have a great story, whether or not Disney is brave enough to use it. They have a great story. Now, there's some other things that maybe people in our circle will be frustrated with, but Rachel Greta Gerwig did the screenplay along with Aaron Cressida Wilson. And now, actually, there's another name that I didn't see there. But Greta Gerwig is not a bad writer. Ideologically, a lot of people might disagree with her, but she's not a bad writer. So there's a lot of things going for this movie as far as quality. Whether or not we all agree with those qualities. Oh, sorry. It was noting the previous writers for the original 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So forget that. there's a lot here that could be good, and they are going to do musical numbers, which is a good thing. And they are taking more time to do it, and it looks like there will actually be dwarves in the film, which I'm gonna say probably a better choice than a bunch of weird-looking hippies.
And who knows? Maybe young Amelia will get 2 songs now.
Now everyone's gonna think that I'm looking forward to this movie. No, I'm not.
No, we're not. We're definitely not. But I think they may salvage it in terms of quality, but I'm afraid they may have ran the audience off completely, and we'll see how that goes. Folks, that's it for us. Like, share, subscribe, and you see these 2 individuals at the top. Jonas runs That Park Place on YouTube. Culture Casino runs the Culture Casino YouTube channels. They both utterly deserve your attention. Hop on over to their channels. Consider giving them a subscribe. It'd be great. Folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
No, hey Florl, what you doing? Thinking about Rome?
No, I wasn't. But thanks. Now I lost the game.
Dang it. Now I lost the game. Oh,
No.
Well, now you're a double loser.
Hey guys,
Game.
you know what would help you in your grief? Forgetting those things and filling your mind with articles from thatparkplace.com and using that website as a launching pad to get you lost in thought with all of the team from there.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, well, Flora, would you look down here?
I hate you.